With that in mind, we want to talk about Judge Sotomayor with Christopher Sabatini. He's Senior Director of Policy for the Council of the Americas here in New York. Chris, good to talk to you as always.
It's nice being back, Martin.
So how's this story playing in Latin America, and how are people reacting to the news?
People are reacting with a great amount of enthusiasm. As you mentioned, this is a very compelling human story. Her father passed away when she was 9 years old. Her father only had a third grade education. And now that she's risen to the level of Supreme Court, it really represents, to many minds, the success of the American dream that really Obama represents as well. And so I think in that sense, it really restores a certain amount of moral authority to the United States and U.S. institutions. And that's very important. Now, for Latin Americans generally, it's nice to have someone with a name that's recognizable and pronounceable to them on the Supreme Court.
One of the questions we had was, how common is it for women in Latin America to hold high positions in the judiciary?
It's actually quite common. The Vice President of the Supreme Court of Argentina is a woman. There are 2 women on the Argentine Supreme Court. The President of the Supreme Court in Brazil is a woman. The Vice President in Colombia of the Supreme Court is a woman. And there are 2 women on the Supreme Court in Mexico. So it's actually quite common.
And assuming that she moves through the confirmation process, what are the issues that are likely to come, or are there issues that would come before the Supreme Court that impact Latin America? I certainly can think of immigration.
Yeah, nothing directly. I think this is one of these picks that has great symbolic value for many Latin Americans because of who she is and because she speaks Spanish. But I think for many Latin Americans, it really won't directly affect them on a personal level. But at the level of immigration, I think the sense that we have a Hispanic American on the Supreme Court, and she has said publicly that gender and ethnicity do influence how a judge rules. And so that sense, when we're really coming through a very bad period of anti-immigrant backlash, that we now, someone in the highest court of the land is Hispanic American, is a very powerful message to Latin Americans. But second, the issue of interpretation of international norms governing the treatment of prisoners, political prisoners and habeas corpus, which have been openly scorned by Justices Scalia and other conservative justices, will now, I think, receive a much more favorable treatment in the Supreme Court. And that matters not just for Latin America, but for the rest of the world.
And again, getting back to the confirmation process, you were saying that actually she has a history that could appeal to both parties.
Well, she was nominated originally by George H.W. Bush at her first appointment. And of course, you know, this appointment represents a shifting demographics of the importance of Hispanics in the U.S. electorate. And neither party is going to want to oppose really a historic appointment. The third woman and the first Hispanic American.
For fear that they would upset the Hispanic population.
And this is a crucial swing vote, not just in the Eastern Coast states, but throughout the United States increasingly. The only opposition may actually come from the Northeasterners, because she is a diehard Yankees fan. So the Boston Red Sox fans may actually be opposing her.
We'll keep an eye out for that. Chris Sabatini, thanks very much.
Thank you very much.